hands. On the sofa here, or the chair.
I'd like to know how I could be God's emissary on this planet with the following frustration. I'm really not liking President Bush and what he represents.
Well, are you wanting to be his emissary or
No,
the Father's?
God's emissary.
Yeah, there are a lot of other people equally unlikable, I'm sure.
Right, to
And
continue
what does
that.
have to do with your being an emissary of God?
To continue on
And
that line is...
who are you to be an emissary for God for? Those that you like?
No, no, I'm not going there actually.
Continue.
Let me reorganize. The frustration is the possibility of the rising gas prices, the fact that the news always brings bad news rather than the positive changes, the positive developments. I had this question all laid out before I grabbed the microphone. It's just the frustration. How do I stand to be the light and the right arm of God and the wonderful positive daughter of God in the midst of negativity, of something that seems so beyond my control? Okay. Hey, you're supposed to know everything.
You do it with patience, pitiful patience sometimes. You do it with compassion. You do it realizing that all that would discourage you from it does not express the Father's will, and therefore doesn't really constitute a justifiable issue, an issue that justifies your abandoning your function. And you do it because here is where it's needed. And that's really the bottom line. You be the presence of love here where it's so discouraging, because here is where it's needed. You shine the light in the darkness because the darkness is where it's needed. And you know what? You do it because you are able. There are those at the moment who are not able because they're so completely preoccupied by the density of the problems, the density of the darkness, if you will. You do it with long suffering. It's not so awful.
No, it isn't.
It becomes distressing if you think there's really some other option. And then you will fuss for the right to utilize this other option. But you know what? You have to bring it where your fellow man is. And that means whatever his frame of mind is, whatever his particular set of distresses is, whatever his particular apparently justifiable grievances are. And like I said, you do it because you can. And there really is no other option. The only other option you would have would be to deal with people who are awake. And they don't need what you have to give. And, as a matter of fact, they're quite busy engaging in the very same thing you are a little bit frustrated about. Thank God.
Thanks.
You are welcome. Sort of brings us full circle on the subject of love. I started out by saying that all of the frustrations, all of the problems, all of the negative circumstances that get you down primarily because you don't realize that God loves you. You don't realize that you are loved. And as a result, you don't let it in. You know, it's the same thing with your fellow man. And that's why the other half of the equation, the first half being letting God's love in so that you experience it, the other half of the equation is letting it flow through you to your fellow man. When you do that, it will be extended to those who, like you, are preoccupied with their frustrations, angers, guilts, and complex problems. And they may not receive it from you, at least not at first, but you do it anyway. The thing is that when you let yourself be infilled with the experience of God's love for you, and I mentioned that in doing that, you realize that you're lovable, and if you're lovable, you're therefore innocent. Now, this is not an intellectual process of realizing you're innocent. You feel it in the very essence of you. It's a knowing. Your innocence is known by you. And when that happens, when you have that experience, you realize spontaneously, not as an intellectual process, that this is absolutely true of the jerk sitting next to you. Or the individual sitting next to you who's just like you. You realize in the experience that you haven't been made special, that in your unspecialness, you're innocent. And if in your unspecialness you're innocent, then the person sitting next to you, in his or her unspecialness, is also innocent, no matter what either of you thought about yourselves before you had this realization. That realization is what you're able then to extend. You see? And it doesn't matter whether it's received yet or not. Because if it's not received, it can't change what you know. Because what you know isn't what you think. What you think can be changed. What you know cannot. So, I am so glad that with most of you we are going to have another day together. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And for those of you who can't be here, thank you I am glad that you shared yourselves with me. Okay. You are welcome.